Lamentation 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations, the Israelite foreigners. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And this is an Israelite thing, not a black thing. And as you listen carefully to the introduction, in every video that I do, I make it clear that the Israelites are scattered among all people and are going to come looking like all people. All right. Now, the primary makeup of the Israelites here on earth today is the Negro, Latino, Native American, but that is not the end all be all. Israelites are scattered among all people, including so-called white people. What you're looking at is the book, Who is Esau-Edom? This is going to be a continuation of end time revelations. And we're going to go a little bit into this book. I'm going to read from it. Now, they're asking only $18 for this paperback, which is pretty much what I paid for mine about 15, 16 years ago. This same copy I've had, and I paid about, this book went up to $10,000 at the peak and the height and the popularity of the Hebrew Israelite movement. The men of the Great Millstone were bringing this book out so much, and bringing out information in this book so much, they took the price all the way up to $10,000 used. And there are brothers who still have screenshots of that off the internet to prove that. All right, so I guess they took the price back down because it made them look guilty. But they do that with a lot of books. They take the prices up to ridiculous prices, especially now that people have woken up to this, and they hate, they love to, that's a buzzword, that wake or awoken. But now the people are interested in seeking out this truth, either to try and learn about it or to try and debunk it. The problem is when you set out to debunk this, you get horribly disappointed. When you seek to try to debunk or disprove what I'm about to share with you, you end up getting your feelings hurt. All right. Or you just end up becoming a perpetual liar like Vocab Malone. But this is page 4. I'm just going to read a little bit, a few pages off this. And this is the introduction on page 4, second paragraph. It says, this material presents strong meat of God's word, which is intended to edify and nourish strong Christians. And then it has Hebrews 5, 12 through 14. It said this is specifically intended for those who have advanced to the stage of understanding the racial perspective of the Bible, which most people, this is a very profound saying that he wrote in his book. Because most people because they've been Christianity, all right? Because he's talking about Christian. No, Christianity is what pushed this color thing. They were part of that. Remember, they married white superiority to Christianity with science, with Darwinism. Darwinism married, all right, and that was done by Johann Blumenbach. So what they took, they'll discredit the Bible, but then they'll use biblical characters to identify color with the whole Ham, Shem, and Japheth. All right, and they'll make Ham the father of all the dark people, and Shem and Japheth, pretty much the father of the white people. Well, the truth of the matter is, there's no such thing as black, and there's no such thing as white. And the Bible describes Esau-Edom as being red. Everyone else in the world is swarthy and tawny, meaning, from a dark chocolate brown to a very light brown, almost like yellow. Yellow is a derivative of brown. And remember, all throughout Asia, there are Asians that are darker than most Negroes. In Asia, I've seen them. All right. You go to Malaysia, you go to Cambodia, certain parts of Thailand, Indonesia. There are very dark people there. So Asians are always dark. They love to show you the ones in China and Japan who have been, colonized or compromised with Esau-Edom for the longest at this point. A lot of them have lightened up because of that. All right. And, women gravitate toward power. So a lot of Japanese and Chinese women who are Ammon and Moab slept with Edomites, and that's why you see so many lighter complected Chinese, Japanese, Koreans this current day. But if you go back 100, 150 years, 200 years, you start going back in time, you'll find that those people were just as brown as, the people in Indonesia, just as brown as the people in Venezuela and different parts of South America. They were dark, and some even darker than Negroes. All right. So until you understand the racial aspect of the Bible, all right, and not race according to color, but just race according to what tribes and who are who, you're never going to get a true understanding of the Bible. All right. And it says, it thus is specifically intended for those who have advanced to the stage of understanding the racial perspective of the Bible and revealing the mysteries of the scripture surrounding Esau-Edom. This book deals with the history, prophecy, ethnology, providence, symbology, and eschatology. The book traces the life and destiny of Esau and his descendants, the Edomites, and their relationship to Jacob, Israel, to God, a historical current events, and the other races, plus their prophecy and judgment. All right. So Isaiah, which he never brings out in this book, as far as I remember, but Isaiah 63, verses 1 through 5 makes it clear that the Edomites will be the ruling class people upon the second coming. All right. Who the world ignorantly and fraudulently called Jesus Christ. All right. Comes back to a world that is ruled by the Edomites. So it's not just the Jewish, the tribes of Amalek. It's the rest of the pale people, the ones who are actually, Edomites. Because just because you're pale doesn't mean you're an Edomite. Remember, the Israelites are scattered among them and other nations as well. All right. So it's all about the spirit of a person, not the color of their skin. The so-called white man is the one who perpetrated that fraud on earth and have people confused with color and trying to identify people by color. You will never be able to identify people by color. All right. You won't. Color is an indicator, not a definite. Because I have met and known many of white people, so-called, who were not so-called white at all. They just had that appearance because their mother or their grandmother or something of that but they're not so-called white at all. So, and the same thing with chocolate people. I've met a few of them too. Just because they're dark, they're not so-called black at all. All right. This is on page 5. The legacy of Esau-Edom. To help answer the question, who is Esau-Edom, the first necessary step is to examine the racial genealogical history of Esau and his descendants. Thus, Esau was racially an Edomite. This is true. And it says Semite, but it's a Shemite. Semite is a made-up word. All right. They made that where they removed the H, and Esau-Edom has done that a lot. All right. But it was because the Lord didn't. The man's name was not Sem, it was Shem. It was Ham, the Hamitic people, Japhet, the Japhetic people, and Shem, the Shemitic people. All right. Sem was a word they were able to run with and create a whole narrative and definition behind. All right. And then hide who the rest of the Shemite races were, including so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are definitely from the stock of Shem. All right. But it says, and a Hebrew, a racial stock of the white race. All right. And so he left out, you see what I mean? So this is the racial epithets and lies that the book also told. The truth be said, so-called white people really are Shemites. They're from Shem as well. They're Esau, Jacob's twin brother, who came out pale, came out red. All right. White people are so-called red. The term redneck. All right. When they're born, newborn babies, you put in red-faced baby or pale-faced babies. You're going to see who comes out red. All right. Just as Esau despised his birthright, Genesis 25:34, when he sold it to Jacob, he also despised his race by marrying a strange woman outside his race. No, he didn't. Esau was trying to get that curse of the whiteness, of paleness off of him, that mark of death or leprosy, if you study the scriptures. All right. And he did marry these Canaanite women, which they also try to make the Canaanites white. All right. Canaanites are sons of Ham. But that Hamitic theory tried to make Canaan, because you have to understand, that's why they always showing you movies and they're showing you Goliath and the Philistines is white. They lived in the land of Canaan. Canaan is in Western Asia, where the land of Israel and the surrounding areas above it, all the way up to Babylon, to Iraq. Okay, the Hamites were in all that area, and Canaan is a son of Ham. The Hamites were the original Egyptians, and they were very, very chocolate dark people. Okay. It says the descendants of Esau from these marriages became known as the Edomites. Now they became known as Edom because they were red. Okay. So you have to, in this book, you have to chew the meat and spit out the bones. All right. Then on page 7, it talks about the conversion, and it gives you Jewish, and I'm going to show it. It gives you Jewish encyclopedias and information where this came from. All right. It says Edomites were driven into the old territory of Judah. The Maccabean family. All right. This is why they removed the Apocrypha from the Bible, because of information like this. But the Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judites, had ruled Judea from 166 BC under Judas Maccabee, 1 Maccabees 5:3, recaptured the city of Hebron from the Edomites during the time of John Hyrcanus, 135 to 105 BC. The nephew of Judas, the Judites will again face the hostility of the Idumeans, which are the Edomites. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. Hyrcanus confronted the Edomites, causing a decisive change in the relations between the two factions. John Hyrcanus conquered the whole of Edom. No, he didn't. He conquered the portion of Edom that was there. All right. Edom was all over the place at that time, not just there. All right. And it says, and undertook the forced conversion of the inhabitants to Judaism. And that's also can be found in Josephus, in Antiquities 13, around 9:1. Thenceforth, the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people. All right. Well, they became the Jewish people because the Israelites didn't call themselves Jewish. The Israelites were Israelites. So Jewish people were Edomites who converted, and that people repeated that faction during the time of the Khazarian Mafia in around 7 AD. All right. But it's 700 AD. But it says, thus the juncture of the Edomites were then incorporated with the Jewish nations, with the Israelite nation. See, Jewish is a buzzword. They use that word Jewish to hijack Israelite, the same way they use black to hijack Israelite. All right. To hijack Swarthy. All right. Because, Swarthy was relating to complexion, and black is related to dirty, evil, nasty, bloodthirsty, and all these negative things. That's why they call you black people. All right, go go to the GMS Maccabean Spirit, and I believe on this channel too. There are plenty of videos on that subject matter. But it says, but thus at this juncture, a time the Edomites were then incorporated into the Israelite nations, and their country was called by the Greeks and Romans Idumea. all right, with Ptolemy, and right, and remember Ptolemy was the Edomite that was set up over northern Africa, over Egypt. You know, he was the pale. That's why you have a time frame of Egyptians who were so-called white. All right. But the tide turned in favor of the Edomite faction when Julius Caesar made Antipater the Edomite procurer of Judea in 47 BC. When Antipater was killed, 4 years later, his son Herod gained power and was rejected by the Judites. And that right. And when you watch the series, those who are about to die, in the third episode, there's a scene where the hunter, I'm forgetting his name right now, but the Egyptian hunter, the black guy, the African guy, he gets captured and forced to fight as a gladiator, and he befriends a Edomite slave that he's forced to kill later on. And they did that as punishment to him because they knew he liked them. They were friends. And but they were having a conversation. He started speaking about the times when the pharaohs were black. All right. In that very same episode, the princess, the royal family of the Jewish people, she declared how she was a daughter of the Herodians, of Herod, proving in this series that they know that the Edomites were ruling over Judea. All right, because of Antipater. Julius Caesar made Antipater the procurator of Judea. All right, and then his son Herod, you know, the Herodians, the Herodian dynasty were Edomites, and they married into the royal bloodline of the Israelites, and that's where all this Jewish stuff comes from. Here's page 7. Fuck, Salakia. Knocked the camera down on accident. Let me just get it back up, Salakia. All right. So, I'll show you the receipts at the bottom of the book so you can find this information in. All right. Right there. Matter of fact, screenshot that. All right. Encyclopedia of Judea, 1971. Jewish Encyclopedia, 1977. They even give you the pages. Pages 589, pages 378. All right. John D. Davis Dictionary of the Bible, 1934, page 32. Jewish Encyclopedia, volume 5, 1904. So these are telling you that modern day Jewry is Edom, is the Edomites. All right. And this was by white rabbis and Jewish scholars. All right. This is their information from their sources. So we're going to play a little bit more of that video that I did yesterday. And we're going to start at about the 12th minute and let it play for a few minutes. All right, so here we go.
Now our guest, a very potent speaker with very strong opinions and educational facts that you need to consider. And let's bring on the host of the French Connection radio show, Mr. Smith. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, Aaron. I'm glad to be able to speak to you and your audience today.
Again, we have one of the most strongest members of the Truth Movement who has a global audience, and he's going to speak to some very particular details here. So I encourage our listeners to listen up and review this back in the archive. It's going to be good for you. Please, would you please answer one of our YouTubers' questions about the Lubavitch organization or sect or whatever they are?
Well, first of all, you have to understand the nature of the Ashkenazi Jewish construct, or how it was formed. Basically, Ashkenazi Jews were converts to Judaism in the year 760, and they come from an area of the world called Khazaria, which is in the steppes of Russia near the Caucasus Mountains and Georgia and Armenia. And Well, the group that has become orthodox, they have an orthodoxy. They follow some very draconian, sometimes and bizarre practices. They wear the black hats and they have the curly hair and the whole bit. This particular group formed their own search for the Messiah, their messianic search, and they believe they found it in a generational seat that is held by different people within their movement. And that last guy that they had was a guy named Menachem Schneerson. But the Lubavitch is an offshoot of that, and what they've done is they've gone around the world and set up what they call Lubavitcher prayer centers for Jews. Basically what it is a jumping off point for a mafia. And I will call this particular sect what it is. It's a mafia. And they have run operations out of it. They have done assassinations from there. They have run drug peddling and manufacturing from their organizational headquarters. They've got them in Boston and Atlanta and LA and Seattle and Chicago and New York and Paris and every major city, Berlin, everywhere. But they also have them all over India. And you'll note that that false flag attack where they blame the Pakistanis for a slaughter inside of in Mumbai, that was actually run out of a Lubavitcher center, a travel center put on by Chabad Lubavitch, and the whole thing was under the guise, they're under the control of the Lubavitch. Now the Lubies had not been well known until I started talking about them about 7 years ago. They were really under the radar, and I started putting their information everywhere, and I wasn't the first to know about their crimes or the fact that they were doing what they were doing, but I was the first person to popularize it within the alternative media, which, as you know, alternative media, the way we understand it today, is a new construct. It really has its beginnings in the last 7 or 8 years. Prior to that, we were essentially using the old format of radio, and you would never get an FCC license to put out the information that I was putting out some years ago. And what ends up happening here is we have been pointing the finger at who controls the Lubavitch. Now, the Lubavitch is controlled through the banking fortunes of Rothschild, Oppenheimer, Levy, Solomon, Kahn, Loeb, and all of these different families, the Brothmans and others, and the Honigs out of, they were very big in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but all these different leadership Jewish families from the Ashkenazi sect are involved in the financing and support of this worldwide expansion of Lubavitch, and they are basically centers for them to set up infiltrations even. Or in New York City, they run out and they've actually done assassinations that they've been fingered for. So, very dangerous group. They believe that non-Jews are cattle. They call us that. The name that we are given, and it means cattle, is goyim. And they believe that we are put on this earth to serve Jews. And their rabbis within Lubavitch have stated that.
And what he just said is 100% true, but that's to the Israelites, not Jews, not Jewish people, not converts. They will be a part of those servants in the building of the kingdom of heaven, thus saith the Bible. And the fate of the book of Obadiah is what awaits the Jewish people. Biblical fact. This is Luke 8:17, and it reads, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." So this truth was destined biblically to come out, and a house divided cannot stand. All right. This was put up by GMS Vegas sit downs, I believe yesterday or sometime last night. gonna turn the sound down. Yeah, so yeah, I turned the sound down because I hadn't declared the 1976 act. So I'll read Mark 3:23, and it reads, "And he called unto him and said," all right, he called unto them and said, and Salakia, and he called unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? So you got, considering Revelation 3:9, Revelation 2:9, the synagogue of Satan. All right, you have to consider that when reading this. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against Satan and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. We're watching the end. We're watching Satan divided against themselves. All right, coming against themselves.
A Palestinian organizer saying that President Trump said, "We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. If you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent..."
So let's see if they round up all those rabbis that were burning the Israeli flag in New York. All right, let's see if they round them up.
Men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here. So again,
Rabbi Yisrael David Weiss of Neturei, the Jews United Against Zionism. Basically, we have rabbis from Palestine, from Jerusalem, Al-Quds, and many of us who are immigrants, second-generation immigrants. My father escaped from the Nazis. His parents were killed in Auschwitz, as my mother and almost the entire family. I was born here. We are Jews, and because we are Jews, we cannot be silent when we're witnessing a massacre, a wholesale murder of the people in Gaza, and it's being perpetrated under the name of my religion, Judaism. And if anybody dares to speak and to try to somehow express their hurt, their feeling, students who are relatives of these people and others who have humanity on their mind, they're immediately accused of being anti-Semitic. Now, anti-Semitic, we know it's in our bones. My family suffered from anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism means when you hate somebody because of their religion, because of Jewish, not when you are opposed to a crime that has been perpetrated against your family, when you're watching children being murdered. So therefore, we are out here pleading with our president, pleading with the heads.
Now, like I said, a double standard, because the Muslim guy did exactly what they did, nothing more. He just spoke about crimes, murder, and he didn't say, he didn't incite, But anyway, let's see if they start rounding up, if Trump sends the ICE squad on these guys. I got a feeling that that's not going to happen. But here's where we are. This is 2nd Ezra 6. And 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And that's where we are. We're at the end of the age, the end of Esau's time to rule, and the time for Jacob to rise up, which is ushering in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of our Lord, Yahweh Shai, and the king that he sets on the throne forever and ever, and the 144,000 judges, the new established government here on earth. All right, with King David ruling again in the stead of the house of Judah. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Kwadash Kwam Yasharala Abad Babal.